How's it going? If you don't already know me, my name is Sam Barker. I'm a sound designer, re-recording mixer, and recording artist based out of Atlanta, Georgia. If I'm talking a little weird today, it's because I just had a dental surgery, and I'm still talking with a little bit of a lisp and can't really move my mouth all the way, but it's good enough that I can record a video now, so sorry for the little respite in between videos. Today, I just wanted to take a look at pitch correction, commonly referred to as auto-tune, although as I'm sure many of you know, auto-tune is a brand name. It's copyrighted Antares Auto-tune, and there's really a lot of different flavors and brands for pitch correction, and I've seen a little bit of a misinformation online about it, so I just wanted to go through the different flavors of pitch correction, where to use them, when to use them, and how much you should really pay for them. So yeah, this is a song that I have not released because I wasn't thrilled with my vocal performance and the lyrics are just like so-so, but I figured what else am I going to use this for? So it's a good guinea pig track because it was a pretty pitchy performance on my part and auto-tune was very helpful in this case. So there's a lot of different forms of pitch correction. The first one, and the one that's so well known, it's the Kleenex of pitch correction because everyone just says auto-tune. That would be Auto-tune Pro. Really, it's Antares Auto-tune, and they have a bunch of different kind of levels of auto-tune. There's auto-tune EFX, which just has a retune speed, which is more for like just getting that very stylized rap vocal sounding auto-tune. Then they have, I think, Auto-tune Artist, which introduces also the Humanize function. And then there's Auto-tune Pro, which is this one. And it has a couple more features that we'll get into. So let me play a bit of the song before we get into any pitch correction talk. The song was supposed to be called Breathless, and the backing track is produced by Big Smoke out of Atlanta. He works over at Icon Studios, and vocals are all me. So let's take a listen. One of the other reasons I did not release this song is because we recorded it through an LA2A, and looking back, I think the LA2A was just slammed, so it's overcompressed. And I usually like my first stage compressor to be something fast, like a 1176, to take care of transients, so, you know, take it with a grain of salt. But here's the song.
When I see you, my breath goes out. Talking stupid, watch me take another step around. Logic goes and I haven't even left my house. I'm alone watching all my thoughts bounce around. Cause you don't know how beautiful your new tone is to my old bones. Change the set list, cause you have me breathless, just a little bit reckless. That girl from Texas, when I see her my breath goes out.
So yeah, you get the idea. And then the bridge.
Met you and I freeze. 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 Change the set list, cause you have me breathless.
So yeah, you get the idea. Like I said, a bit of a pitchy performance, but Auto-tune did an excellent job cleaning it up for me. Let's start off by taking a look at Antares Auto-tune Pro. First, why would I want to use Antares Auto-tune Pro? I usually think of this as a specific sound you're trying to go for. Auto-tune isn't necessarily going to sound the most natural, but it has an excellent algorithm that adds, it almost sounds like this silky smooth saturation, and it's going to keep your pitches right on the money without this humanize function. So let's solo it out and take a listen to what the auto-tune is actually doing.
When I see you, my breath goes out. Talking stupid, watch me take another step around. Logic goes and I haven't even left my house.
And if we bypass.
When I see you, my breath goes out. Talking stupid, watch me take another step around. Logic goes and I haven't even left my house. I'm alone watching all my thoughts bounce around.
Like I said, really pitchy performance, and auto-tune just cleans it up nicely. So let's go through the settings. There's 4 main settings for the auto mode of auto-tune. The first is Retune Speed. I'll turn the others to 0 for now. Retune Speed is pretty self-explanatory. It's how fast you go from one note to the other.
When I see you, my breath goes out. Talking stupid, watch me take another step up.
And if I make it really fast, we're going to get that super fast pitch correction that's common in rap vocals and like even a lot of pop stuff now. Like think Greedy, Tate McRae has a really fast retune speed, and it's a sound.
When I see you, my breath goes out. Talking stupid, watch me take another step around. Logic goes and I haven't even...
So a lot of people use that kind of as an FX, but also to be pitch correction. Personally, I like to be just above 20. It's still super fast pitch correction, but it sounds a little more natural.
When I see you, my breath goes out. Talking stupid, watch me take another step around.
Next, we come to flex tune, and flex tune, I like to think of it as almost a rubber band between notes. This helps the transition between your notes, and you'll hear the difference.
When I see you, my breath goes out. Talking stupid, watch me take another step around. Logic goes and I haven't...
And for my voice, every voice is going to be different. You just got to figure out what settings work for each individual performance. But I usually like between 45 and 55, somewhere in there.
When I see you, my breath goes.
But because I was so pitchy on this performance, I thought 45 sounded better. And then natural vibrato, that's kind of a misnomer in my eyes. This is basically a sine wave, and it takes your now flattened pitch and then makes a perfect sine wave vibrato that goes up and down above the note. Can be useful if you're really tuning hard and you want a little bit of vibrato back, but to be honest, I don't use this a whole lot, and if I do, it's never really above 1.5 because it...
When I see you, my breath goes out. Talking stupid, watch me take another step around.
You're not going to be able to really hear it with this performance because I'm on one note and it's not really held out. But yeah, not a huge fan of the natural vibrato from Antares Auto-tune. Finally, Humanize. Basically, Humanize is just a setting that says, I don't want it to be perfectly on pitch every time. It'll give you a little leeway above or below the note, and the algorithm kind of just decides that. And you'll see if I turn it off.
When I see you, my breath goes out. Talking stupid, watch me take another step.
You see it's never really above or below 25 cents. And real quick, we live in a 12 semitone world, so for every octave there's 12 semitones, and within a semitone there is 100 cents to the next semitone, and that's what this is. So 25 would be a quarter of a semitone, and a semitone is right? It's going to be that chromatic scale. So that's what this is showing us. And you'll see if I turn up Humanize a lot.
When I see you, my breath goes out. Talking stupid, watch me take another step around.
You're going pretty far away from 0 cents. Whereas if I have it lower, it's going to be...
When I see you, my breath goes out. Talking stupid, watch me take another step.
It's closer to 0 cents from the note it's trying to snap this vocal to. Yeah, so those are the basic settings. Then tracking. This is more for if I'm recording a vocal in a live band room and there's a lot of background noise. Being closer to 100 is going to make the algorithm more sensitive and selective to the human voice, and whereas closer to 0 is like in a studio setting. But honestly, I usually leave it right at 50 and it sounds great. I think that's mostly if you have a ton of background noise. Input type. This is the vocal a low male, alto, tenor, soprano. It's going to have a different algorithm for each of those. I like low male for my voice, but you just got to do it performance by performance. And something that I don't see people using autotune for a ton, but it actually sounds really good, is instruments. If, let's say, you have a violin performance that is really pitchy and you want to stylize it and make it like really, really snap to the key, you can do that. And you can also do it with bass instruments, which can be really helpful. If your bass is just a little bit out of tune, you can fix that. And then obviously key and major or minor, so important to know. Autotune does have an auto key plugin that can link with autotune, but if you're producing a track, you probably know the key it's in, and that's going to snap all the notes to the scale. And you can see those are the notes selected here. We'll get to graph mode versus auto mode, but Modern is going to add this flex tune feature. I love flex tune. Without it, personally, for my voice, not a fan. And then Formant. Formant is the voice box, so you can...
When I see you, my breath goes out. Talking stupid, watch me taking...
It's more like an EFX thing, but you can change kind of the size of the voice box and then transpose, which is actually pretty cool.
When I see you, my breath goes out. Talking stupid, watch me take another step.
You know, so if you're working with a completely MIDI based session and you want to change the key, you can. It's gonna have a ton of artifacts, but it's still pretty useful for, especially, I don't know, background vocals if you don't want to re-record everything. And then detune, this is if you've recorded something and every instrument is detuned a little bit. Think about Bon Iver's Skinny Love. If you've ever tried to learn that by ear on guitar, you'll notice it's not in a normal key because the guitars are detuned a little bit. So that's what that'll help you for. If you don't have a normal key and it's kind of in between keys, you can use this feature. And then mix, if you want to mix in the original dry signal with the pitch correct version. So yeah, that's Auto-tune Pro in a nutshell. Graph mode, we're going to get to what Melodyne does and kind of graphical editing and pitch correcting of notes. But Auto-tune has a similar feature. Basically, you record.
When I see you, my breath goes out. Talking stupid, watch me take another step.
And then you can edit these graphically. And this is especially useful if you have a very pitchy, like I'm talking super pitchy performance, and the algorithm is not picking up where the note should be, if it's not even close to the note they're trying to hit. One thing you should note about Auto-tune graph mode is it's still the Auto-tune sound. We use Melodyne and the newly released Repitch by Synchro Arts, same people who do Vocaline. We use those to get a more natural sounding thing. This graph mode is still going to sound like Auto-tune, but it gives you a little more control. You can control specific retune speeds for each individual note, which can be helpful for super pitchy performances, like I said. But if I'm using Auto-tune, I'm almost always going to be in auto mode. So yeah, that's Antares Auto-tune, the Kleenex of pitch correction. Next up, we're going to take a look at Waves Tune Real Time.
When I see you, my breath goes out. Talking stupid, watch me take another step around. Logic goes and I haven't even left my house. I'm alone watching all my thoughts bounce around.
All right, this is Waves Tune Real Time. This is a more cost-effective solution. So let's talk about why I would use Waves Tune Real Time instead of Antares Auto-tune. The first being, it is a more cost-effective option. You know, Waves is always having a sale pretty much, and you can grab this for $30. And if you already have the Waves subscription, Waves Ultimate, I think it's called, it's $25 a month for all their plugins. So this is pretty cost-effective. Whereas Auto-tune, very expensive to buy perpetual license, and I think it's still $25 a month for just the Antares suite, which we'll get into some more of their products. They have some great stuff, but this can be way more cost effective. And the other reason is it sounds more natural. Auto-tune, like I said, is going to imbue the vocal with the Auto-tune algorithm and the Auto-tune sound, which can be great if you want it, but if you're doing a folk album and you don't really want your pitch correction to be noticeable, you're going to want to use Waves Tune Real Time or a graphical editor like that of Melodyne. So let's take a look at the settings of Waves Tune Real Time. Here's what it sounds like.
When I see you, my breath goes out. Talking stupid, watch me take another step around. Logic goes and I haven't even left my house. I'm alone watching all my thoughts bounce around.
So as you can hear, it's struggling a little bit with my very pitchy performance. Auto-tune is going to be better for like snapping things to the key and sounding like they're really on that note. But let's go through the settings. So speed, this is the same as Auto-tune's retune speed. Basically how fast it's moving from one note to the other. Note transition, this I think of as Auto-tune's flex tune. Basically it's saying how long am I taking in between that transition. So speed is kind of like when the algorithm engages, and note transition is kind of that rubber band between the notes. And for speed, I usually, for a natural sound, like something between 10 and 15. You can go even longer for like full. And then note transition anywhere from 50 to 130 or above actually sounds pretty natural. And then something you don't have on Auto-tune, which I actually really like, is this tolerance setting. So basically you're saying if my note is off by only 8 cents, which is almost a tenth of a semitone, I want you to wait 78 milliseconds before you then start this note transition. So it's basically saying if it's close, don't engage as fast. And you can get some really natural performances, natural sounding performances with this setting.
When I see you, my breath goes out. Talking stupid, watch me take another step around. Logic goes and I haven't even left my house. I'm alone watching all my thoughts bounce around.
this vocal is really going to struggle. And just like Auto-tune, it's going to show your piano roll and remove the notes that are not in the key. And you can even tell it, I go flat on G here, so I want you to bump it up. Again, I usually just leave it like this unless it's really pitchy. And I find the vibrato setting on Waves TRT real time sounds more natural than that of the Auto-tune, and it does its best to keep the original vibrato, especially good if you're trying to get a natural performance for something like folk or country. And you'll see a lot of live mix engineers using Waves TRT real time. Again, the correction, this is basically your dry wet all over again, like on Auto-tune. I find that Formant, which is the voice box, corrected sounds pretty good. It's gonna try and emulate what the voice box would do if the pitch was changed a bit. And again, you choose your key, and yeah, it should just work. That's the beauty of Waves TRT real time, is like Auto-tune. It's an algorithm, you just slap it on there, set your settings, and you're good to go. But for super pitchy performances, or if you want to get a really natural sound, you're going to want a graphical editor. So let's take a look at Melodyne.